watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious about business.
Crime, corruption, and criminal justice. AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, is shining a light on these topics here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in a luncheon that's looking at how these affect Jamaica's trade and investment potential. I'm Elon Parkinson. Let's take a look at the highlights.
One of the things that I realize is that having these forums, it provides us with an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to improve. And all members should give your organization a round of applause. Put your hands together for it. For weeks, I was talking about business unusual. For weeks, that was the last one on the economy that you guys had. And I was in cocktail conversation sounding smarter than I am just by virtue of having been in the room. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. I'm going to apologize for the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang. He did intend to be here, but he was called at the last minute to Parliament. I believe he has a parliamentary committee that he must be at, so they've summoned him. The numbers are important in these committees to make quorum and to participate in discussions at Gordon House, so he won't be with us today. The DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn, is here. Thank you very much for being here with us today, as is Dirk Harrison, the acting head of the Corruption Prosecution Division at the Integrity Commission. Always glad to have Professor Anthony Clayton, a respected criminologist, here with us today. Jason Fraser is the country rep of the USAID. Thank you very much, and looking forward to hearing their presentations later today. At this time, I'm going to invite Alison Peart, the president of AmCham of Jamaica, to give the official welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. You know, we look so officious and so quiet. It's very, very important business, but I'm hoping today you're going to learn a lot more. You're going to leave here understanding more about some of the issues and, more importantly, with some solutions. Because it's one thing to speak about our issues, but if we don't find a solution, we're just a talk shop. And I love Nationwide on the radio, but we don't just want to talk. We want to come up with some solutions. So as the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Jamaica, we thought it very important. We talk about how wonderful the economy was. Our last session was business unusual. But if we have crime issues, if people don't feel, Jamaicans don't feel comfortable going about their daily lives, if our foreign investors don't feel comfortable, if our children, who are our future, have issues, where are we as a nation? So we thought it very important to bring together a panel that would engage in the dialogue about crime, corruption, criminal justice. How does it affect our trade and investment? Because it makes no sense to talk about our GDP growing or our debt to GDP if we're dying. It makes no sense if our future is tied to crime. So this dialogue is very, 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 very important, and I'm very happy you're here with us.
Okay, the question today is how much crime and corruption and a dysfunctional justice system are actually inhibiting the development of Jamaica and inward investment. Because we don't just have one problem, we have quite a complex array of problems. And it's quite hard to know how much we should attribute to any one of these and how much any one of these is contributing to what has historically been a very low rate of growth and significant difficulties in attracting inward investment and retaining domestic capital and retaining human capital. These are the headline ones. We have one of the highest rates of violence in the world. We have a large number, a significant number of gangs. About 80% of our homicide are gang-related. The rest are primarily domestic violence. So the fact that we have a large number of gangs is clearly a major factor in maintaining one of the world's highest levels of homicide. There are fundamental challenges still in our system of governance. As I'll be going on to say in a few minutes, we have people in public life who help to create this problem with gangs and high levels of violence, and that link has never been yet severed, and that is still a challenge that we have yet to face. What, of course, that does is it undermines the moral authority of government. If you have a situation where all the bad guys are out there and everybody in government is honest and competent, it's not really very difficult to deal with the problems of crime. The problem is when the boundaries between the two are blurred, and when you have criminals who are getting high-level political protection. At that point, it's much, much harder to deal with the issues. Of course, what that feeds is a culture of cynicism, low trust, and that has a great deal to do with sustaining a high level of violence. In any country where you see that people do not trust the police and do not trust the justice system, they're much more likely to have recourse to violence to solve their issues and disputes. So it's partly reflecting the fact that we've still got deep weaknesses in our system of governance. But let's put this in a little context. There's only one demographic for whom violence is the leading cause of premature morbidity, which is young males, late teens, early 20s. For every other demographic, it's actually cheeseburgers that are more likely to kill you. We've got issues with, like every other country, with steeply rising rates of non-communicable diseases. And we can't also forget the fact that we have perennial challenges with energy security, increasingly with water security, which is related, because years ago we made the decision that everybody must be on a piped water supply, which means that we're now committed to a program of pumping water up hillsides, which means that if our energy system goes down, our water system goes down too. In hindsight, perhaps that wasn't a very good decision. So we've got issues with energy, water security, and more generally food and access to resources. We live in a seismically active part of the world. We live in the hurricane belt. There's challenges with emerging exotic diseases, and of course we've got a background issue really serious now, as people have started to realize with climate change. You may have heard that this summer is the hottest ever recorded in Jamaica's history. And in fact, there is now real grounds for concern that we've gone past an irrevocable point, and that we will not ever revert back to the low temperatures of the past. So this is something that we may now have to make a permanent adjustment to.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show, and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
One of our highest priorities of the U.S. government in Jamaica is to work with our counterparts to interdict Jamaican and Caribbean-based transnational criminal activity, including narcotics and arms trafficking, trafficking in persons, and financial fraud targeting U.S. citizens. The U.S. government has also invested heavily in supporting anti-corruption initiatives with the civil society and Jamaican government, as well as supported improvements in the justice system. In total, the U.S. government invests about $12 million in security-related programming annually, which does not include all the various partnerships and collaborations that our various U.S. government agencies have with their counterparts. In fact, USAID Jamaica just advertised a broad agency announcement to co-design our flagship community violence prevention activity with key stakeholders such as the government, academia, and private sector. This unique co-creation approach encourages key stakeholders to co-create and deliver the services that are vital to prevent youth crime and violence at the community level. Law enforcement and criminal justice are important to controlling crime, as we all know, and corruption. But we also have to address the underlying social challenges that both cause and contribute to crime. Within the broad range of U.S. cooperation on crime, and this is where USAID comes in, we partner with the government and civil society on a range of programs to address the root causes of crime in Jamaica. So in the area of community safety and security, and building upon past successes with community-based policing, USAID focuses on the strengthening of community-based and civil society organizations, the promotion of community-driven activities, the development of long-term champions of a culture of lawfulness, and the enhancement of ministries, departments, and agencies of the state to be more community-oriented institutions. In this way, we believe that we contribute to building safer communities, strengthening social cohesion, and improving civic engagement participation. USAID also works with holistic youth-friendly approaches that aims to assist at-risk youth in becoming active citizens through the engagement of different social, educational, behavioral, and recreational activities. This approach includes 3 main areas regarding youth involved in criminality: prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation, including diversion activities as alternatives to traditional incarceration for first-time offenders. Youth also develop skills through educational programs which introduce them to fundamental concepts in business, economics, individual accountability, and entrepreneurship. USAID expects that life skills and technical training will increase opportunities for at-risk youth to work within the legitimate economy, thereby reducing the likelihood of involvement in gang and criminal activity. In Jamaica, relationships with key public sector, private sector, and donor agency partners are being leveraged to create programs to build skills and to identify work options for youth. USAID also works in the youth remandee centers, which includes case management follow-up to facilitate at-risk youth acquiring job and education opportunities when they are released. In the area of corruption, the Combating Corruption in Jamaica project has not only built public demand for more effective action against corruption through awareness campaigns, but has also provided training to government and civil society partners to build capacity and increase advocacy. The project is expected to have an impact on the nation's capacity and the ability to effectively control instances of and attitudes towards corruption in general and political corruption in particular. So what's the role of the private sector in addressing the root causes? That's why we're all here today. Many of you are representing private sector organizations. How can the private sector be a key partner in addressing some of these root causes? Obviously, many of you are part of the community, and so you have an interest. Your company is often affected by the high rates of crime and corruption. So it's important that government, international partners who support government, NGOs, and the private sector work together to address these issues. We've all been to various forums on issues surrounding crime in Jamaica. I think the private sector here needs to continue to ask itself what it is doing to address the issue. Clearly, advocacy is important to press for resources, accountability, and support in combating crime. but there's much more that can be done to invest in communities to make them safer and create opportunities for the next generation to be prosperous. Looking ahead, we welcome the opportunity to increase our engagement with the private sector on these challenges because of the energy and innovation that they typically bring to the table. USAID is a learning agency, and we are constantly exploring how to improve our work and increase our impact. So as we streamline our programs and look for new strategic partners, we invite the private sector to partner with us as we both work towards the common goal of helping Jamaicans thrive.
There's this sense of a godlike syndrome that during some transactions an oversight body must lap its tail or virtually hold its corner in the name of investment. There are different roles for each stakeholder. Each must stay in their lane and accept criticism when constructively made. On the contrary, ladies and gentlemen, potential investors, in fact, should be happy that the business environment observes the rule of law and that democracy flourishes with built-in checks and balances. If I were an investor about to enter Jamaica, it's incumbent on me and my handlers to look out for red flags and indicators of the environment. I name a few on a list that is not exhaustive. 1, determine the role of the oversight body. It must be effective, efficient, fearless, and it must be respected. What, if any, comment does the oversight body have to say on a process or an investment opportunity that you wish to enter? The engagement, ladies and gentlemen, of investors and investor confidence, existing and thriving, must be viewed on a virtual 2-lane highway. That is a 2-way street with rules and guidelines being applicable. 2, does the police service support and protect local and non-Jamaican community members? Do they communicate with all persons? Are they accessible at all times? Maintain a presence that the visitor or citizen believes and recognizes that if they do wrong, they'll be detected. But lines of communication must always be in place. For too long in this blessed country, the notion exists that unless someone knows you and you not knowing them, nothing will happen. That needs to end. In a time of real emergency, the joke is told, unless you have on speed dial a member of the police force, the response time to a complaint is sometimes unacceptable. Another thing that I would think an investor would look for, there must be a criminal justice system that is efficient and effective, and we must congratulate the learned Chief Justice for the renaissance and the role of the DPP's office in the renaissance that is taking place now. But we must also have financial services, a banking system, healthcare facilities. They must be adequate, to name a few components. Importantly, ladies and gentlemen, on Jamaica's stock exchange record, Michael Reagan, writing in Bloomberg Business Week, January 18, 2019, states the Jamaican Stock Exchange is the world's best performing. Its outperformance over the past 5 years is even more striking. Jamaica's stocks have surged almost 300%, more than quadrupling the next best performing national benchmark and septupling the S&P Standard & Poor's 500's advance. I make bold to say that the very important successes must be highlighted, with all the negatives on crime and violence reported in the last 48 hours in Jamaica. Also, the awards in the tourism sector must also be celebrated. However, we must do better. Ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the solutions? Government agencies must work together all the time and set aside jealousies and petty matters which have no place in a professional setting. Interagency cooperation and collaboration must be emphasized and practiced. We must build bridges and stop tearing down, emasculating, and ridiculing persons. The fact that you do not agree is no reason to disrespect. Professionalism is non-negotiable. We must have a review of the timelines to review governance structures. Oftentimes, pieces of legislation give you 3 years to review a legislation. You see in 1 year, nothing is happening. The parliamentary caucus needs to do something about that. We must enhance whistleblowing regimes and encourage the discourse, change in discourse to, in my words, informer for live. Stop saying informer for dead, informer for live. I must admit, I'm an informer. I'm a proud one. I'm an informer. Tell me something today, I'm going to tell the police tomorrow. We need to modernize the law enforcement units and bring outstanding laws into operation. We need public education to sensitize the world that the perception of corruption or actual is not a reflection of the overwhelming majority of law-abiding Jamaicans. We need to ensure that the police and our oversight bodies work to regain public trust. The police must maintain presence, not just in hotspots, but also generally. It will help to rebuild issues of insecurity. I pause here as I listen to Professor Clayton. In the last month, I visited Cayman. The police carry no guns. A year before, I went to Turks and Caicos. The police had no guns. I visited Grenada a few times. The police had no guns. They have their problems, but I felt safe. I am walking in this, my beloved country, and we're turning and looking behind us every minute. But our Caribbean neighbors, and Professor Clayton showed us the figures, I feel safe. We need to look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I reiterate that the government of Jamaica, the ministries, the departments, the statutory bodies, to name a few, must work united to create that package, that which is seen by the outside world, with all the various components and elements that they look at, and which they consider, and which will have the effect to harness growth and encourage investor confidence. But most importantly, we must leave our partners with the belief that integrity is non-negotiable. Honesty is paramount, not by word of mouth, but by our actions. And despite our problems, crime and corruption, that they can and humbly should consider investing in our country to bring about change for good. Acknowledging that the improvement of the basic standards of life may have the effect of changing behavior, but I readily admit we can't legislate for good behavior.
It's the only show that traces the steps of professionals.
From first and second form, I was involved in some club, some activity.
Then gives information on exactly how to get into that same career.
You do need a good grasp of English.
And now you can branch out into whatever area you want to.
Tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Career Moves and catch up on all our episodes at batvja.com.
In respect of what it takes to inspire confidence, I'm a plain speaker, and I will say, I believe that what is happening in our country, education is the key. I believe that a lot of our children, some of those who come from environments where they are victims of poor and dysfunctional parenting, we need to reintroduce civics in all its forms back within the schools from the time of the basic school, because there are a lot of our children. People complain that, okay, are the schools not doing enough? But they may go to school, the teachers try their best, and they go back into an environment that is like a black hole of nothingness, because there's no value system, no values, positive values and attitudes. And yet if you take that child and you put that child in another environment, you have intervention, positive intervention, you would be surprised to see the beautiful diamond coming from the rough. So I'm really a big believer in education. Now, another pet peeve of mine is that, and I prosecute police officers, I do not subscribe to the throwing the baby with the bathwater approach. Everybody knows their functions best. But I am not a public official who believes, unless it is necessary in the interests of justice, to make gratuitous comments in terms of seeking to tear down my colleagues anywhere. And I am not into using speculation to put out there to join the call for crucify him, crucify her in the public domain, where you have the court of public opinion demanding, just like the little old ladies who were knitting at the time in The Tale of Two Cities and saying for the noblemen, chop off their heads. I am not into that. At the Director of Public Prosecution's office, we deal with two things: the law and evidence. Personal emotion, personalities, we are not into it. So even if the court of public opinion or any other opinion would like to see the guillotined head of an individual on a platter, if there is no evidence to prosecute, to mount a viable prosecution, then as a matter of law, we have to say so. And I will say, and it's the first time I'm saying it publicly, first time, and I say it with the greatest of respect, that this is why on occasion, when I've been asked privately, I have registered privately a concern when you have no firewall between agencies that both investigate and prosecute. Because if you are not careful, you run away in the court of public opinion, and the court of law has to catch up. And by the time it gets to court, after a lot of reputational damage has been done, when you look at it and the defense counsel gets up and says, they are putting the prosecution in limine to prove what is there, the judge asks. And when you pare away what is there, there's nothing there as a matter of law. So sometimes in the court of public opinion, the members of the public would want to see one thing, but both the police and I know that in the court of law, it's either you have to have cogent, credible, reliable, admissible evidence. If you don't have it, then no matter how egregious the conduct of an individual is, then you don't have a case. Then you have to look at the second layer in terms of governance and accountability. And this is where public opinion, civil society can force the government of the day to make sure that all the particular oversight agencies, that they have teeth, that they are well structured, and that the will, the political will is there to make sure that the teeth are not rickety in the oversight agencies, but they can stand up. In other words, if you put a piece of cane in the mouth of the teeth of that oversight agency, the teeth won't come out. It is the cane that will suffer damage.
Riveting perspectives and indeed sobering statistics coming from the AmCham empaneled team here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
From working inside the office to outside in the fields, today we're unfolding a simplified process to getting it done. Hi, I'm Theodore Henry. Welcome to today's pages of the island's most informative magazine program. Here's an invitation to continue turning the pages with us just by staying tuned.
How are you going all of that? You're moving?
No. I'm a passport I come for renewing. But you want me to say, you in that way, it's full of crowd and the long line I take you all day. Make sure you walk with some food. And...
No, man, things improve, man. Them have a drop box where you can use inside. You finish in no time.
Yeah,
man, them are done.
Yeah. And some food, man. Try this. A drop box.
Transformation is happening across the public sector. Many services are now available online. We are building a better public service for all. Brought to you by the Transformation Implementation Unit.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, September 18. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says murders and shootings have dropped by 73% in Clarendon and St. Catherine since the September 5 declaration of the states of public emergency for those parishes. He says there have been 4 murders in the area when compared to the 15 that occurred the week before the imposition of the special security measure. In addition, 100 persons have been arrested and charged for various offenses within the first 7 days of the states of public emergency in the parishes.
The progress made within these police divisions must be allowed to continue. Mr. Speaker, we are fully committed to supporting our security forces as they seek to secure the peaceful existence, quality of life, and life itself for Jamaicans.
Despite the successes, Mr. Holness says St. Catherine and Clarendon accounts for 28% of all murders committed on the island. Between January 1 and September 11, Clarendon recorded 100 murders, while St. Catherine accounted for 166 killings. Police data show that the island recorded 948 murders between January 1 and September 16. There have also been 908 incidents of shooting for the same period. As he gave that update on Tuesday, the Prime Minister made the case for a 3-month extension of the states of emergency in St. Catherine and Clarendon. The House only agreed with a 1-month extension to October 19. In other news, Energy Minister Favoll Williams is insisting that Cabinet's recent decision to place the core functions of the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica in that ministry will improve the sector's efficiency. At Tuesday's sitting of Parliament, Minister Williams said the new management arrangement would also result in cost efficiency. She said the move would allow government to have a more comprehensive grasp of the nation's energy sector.
It will remove the disconnect that seems inherent in ministry-parastatal relationship. It will create synergies and completeness in the ability of the government to manage the energy portfolio. It will provide for one unified outfit for policy direction, program development, research and monitoring, and evaluation.
She says the ministry will be working with the Public Sector Transformation Implementation Unit to review and recommend any legislative changes that would give effect to Cabinet's decision. The unit will be assisting the ministry to review legal requirements for transferring all assets owned by Petrojam Ethanol Limited and Jamaica Aircraft Refueling Service to Petrojam Limited.
The ministry is being guided by the policy and principles that govern the transformation of public bodies, and we will work closely with the Transformation Unit and the staff of PCJ for a smooth transition into the ministry.
Still in Parliament Tuesday, Minister with Oversight for Education Carl Samuda has ordered an immediate investigation into reports of schools collecting teachers' fingerprints. He says the matter will be discussed with the Jamaica Teachers Association and the opposition spokesperson on education. Minister Samuda's statement follows reports that some corporate area schools had been using fingerprint technology to prevent teachers from falsifying punctuality and attendance records. Mr. Samuda says the schools are operating contrary to the law and written permission must be sought from the ministry before such a system is implemented.
While the ministry understands the need for an accurate record-keeping system, teachers cannot be compelled to provide biometric data, such as fingerprints, to schools. Section 3.1 of the Fingerprint Act directs that a person can only be compelled to provide fingerprints in specific criminal matters.
Minister Samuda is urging school administrators to utilize other mechanisms to monitor teachers' attendance. Transport Minister Robert Montague says Jamaica is far advanced on legislation to create a regulatory framework that will facilitate the licensing of bunker operators and their vessels. Minister Montague says the legislation is going through the final stages of the parliamentary process. It will be used to address matters relating to the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, MARPOL.
As a growing bunkering port in the Caribbean, the government of Jamaica believes that establishing and adhering to standards help the industry to strive. The Ministry of Transport and Mining, with the support of agencies such as the Maritime Authority, takes its responsibility to uphold standards seriously.
The minister was speaking recently at the opening ceremony for the Second International Bunker Industry Association IBIA Caribbean Bunker Conference. Work on the legislation follows the International Maritime Organization's requirements for contracting states to implement legislation specifying a cap on the sulfur content in marine fuel. And finally, the National Water Commission, NWC, says it will be rehabilitating 11 wells and pulling water from the Rio Cobre to meet the demands of customers in the corporate area.
It makes sense. It's a natural storage river, and so we are pursuing and at an advanced stage in completing to add to the network 15 million gallons of water per day that will come into the city coming from the west.
Mr. Barnett says this immediate medium-term exercise will also bring an additional 5 to 6 million gallons of water to the system.
When you add those two numbers, you're looking at an additional 1/3 of additional flow into the city as a result of new water, so to speak. We are comfortable that those additional sources, which will also help to conserve the usage out of Mona Reservoir and at the Hermitage Dam, will take us up to 2040 in terms of supply. It gives us an additional 10-15 years to plan for additional sources to come into the city.
Mr. Barnett was speaking at a recent JIS think tank. He says long-term projects are being looked at to determine how to move water resources to other areas. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Imagine a year or two or few ago when you were starting your business. You remember the trips to several government offices and the long lines? Well, here's the simple difference between then and now. The electronic single window for trade. Now everything can be done all at once and without even moving from around your computer. Here's more on this IT platform.
Picture this. You're a busy entrepreneur working hard to grow your business. At the wharf to be cleared are the materials needed to make your products. You are required to visit several government offices and fill out multiple forms with similar information to complete this activity, spending time on the trading process that could otherwise be invested in your business. For you, this may just be a mental exercise, but for many entrepreneurs in Jamaica, it is the reality of trade. A reality that will change with the introduction of the Jamaica Electronic Single Window for Trade. An electronic single window ESW is an IT platform that facilitates the efficient clearance of cargo.
An electronic single window is expected to bring simplification, harmonization, and facilitation on international trade transactions under a robust electronic environment. This will bring facilities for customs brokers, government officials to interact with a computerized systems that will have a set of business rules that will allow the traders to fulfill all regulatory requirements, submit all the required data, and be able to complete their transactions in a single and seamless system.
With that electronic single window for trade, clearly it's an electronic form, and that will be filled out one time at your convenience, online, and then behind the scene, the BRAs, the Border Related Agency, will collaborate to ensure that your application is accepted.
The agencies connected to the system will be able to grant the necessary permits, licenses, and approval for the release of merchandise. When approval is given, the trader receives a notification and can then proceed to collect or send off goods. The introduction of an ESW will reduce the cost and time it takes to import and export goods, creating a more enabling environment for local entrepreneurs and foreign investors.
Where we can develop and implement a system where all the transactions can take place through a particular port or point or window in this instance, it makes doing business easier. By extension, therefore, it is expected that the interest in conducting business will be improved, will be increased, and investors will see Jamaica as an even more attractive investor destination. On the other side, it also will aid in the collection of revenue, where we can have a greater throughput of trade and of activity, which by extension generates even much more in terms of the economy.
Implementation of the ESW began in August 2018, and the timeline for completion is 36 months. Over 20 border and regulatory government agencies will connect to the platform. The entity responsible for collecting revenue from trade, the Jamaica Customs Agency, is the lead implementing agency.
The electronic single window system will be fully integrated, of course, with the Ascuda World system. They're both built on the Ascuda World platform. That information will be passed seamlessly from the electronic single window into the customs management system. And that, of course, reduces time and complexity, having a single point of contact and simplification of information. So that transparent environment, having that electronic track and trace, and of course, ensuring that persons are carrying out their functions within the agreed time frame.
The ESW is projected to reduce the number of entities a trader comes in contact with from as much as 5 to 1. In the future, this is how a trader could be making arrangements for the clearance of goods. The Jamaica Electronic Single Window, facilitating efficiency in trade, contributing to a robust business environment, a part of the framework for making it easier to do business with Jamaica.
It can even be that simple for doing businesses in agriculture. And speaking of, the expanding sector is seeing more and more women taking on the role of getting involved. Here's the journey of one.
I got into farming because my hobby was gardening. I was nuts about plants, flowers. So it was kind of a natural area to look for when I was looking for something to do. I started in an area that didn't have water, so I was not able to irrigate. And with climate change, it made things really, really unpredictable, very risky, and just difficult. So I don't consider myself as having really started farming until I moved into this agro park, where I was able to irrigate and do things in an optimal way.
Amity All is approximately 2,400 acres. We have 22 investors, 5 of which are female. The soil is predominantly Sydenham clay, and the crops that do well here, we have the cucurbits. That would include pumpkins, sweet potatoes, zucchini, squash. Also a few tubers do very well, sweet potatoes and cassava. Those crops do very well. We also have a lot of farmers who have gone into the Scotch bonnet pepper, and they're also doing very well. Once we manage the water application with the type of soil that we have and give proper nutrition, these crops do very well.
Life has been a learning experience primarily because of the Sydenham clay, but I don't know if that's particular to this park. I think anywhere that you go, you have to learn to work with what you have. So it's been a learning experience, and but one good thing about it is that you see the rewards at the end of the day because you're able to irrigate or fertigate, which is fertilizing through the irrigation system. So you're getting closer. I see myself inching closer and closer to the point where I'll get optimal yields, which is what every farmer wants. Everything that I produce goes to food processors. And the particular processor that I sell to, 90% of their output is exported. So I like to think that I'm a part of that whole chain that is earning foreign exchange for the country. I plant only hot peppers. I'm trying this year to try and stretch myself and learn other things. So I'm hoping on the boundaries I've created little areas where I'm going to do some experimentation. But for now, I'm only doing hot peppers and specifically Scotch bonnet. I've set myself the challenge of trying to master that because of the two types that we grow here in Jamaica, that definitely is the most demanding one. So still going up the learning curve. I think the reason why I settled on peppers is because you can sell it. You don't have to scratch your head and wonder where you're going to sell it. Because most of the processors have back orders, export orders. And in fact, we've found ourselves in the situation in Jamaica where processors have to import pepper mash. So you will never, ever have a problem selling your product. If you never went to farm school, if you don't really have experience, try to get into a situation where people are readily accessible to give you that encouragement, not just advice, technical advice, but also encouragement, because sometimes you may go through a little period where you feel, wow, is this really worth it? And that support is valuable. But that's one thing. In terms of practical advice, don't go anywhere without water. Just don't go anywhere without water. That's the mistake I made. And the second thing is try to farm reasonably close to where you live. Another mistake that I made, because how often you go to your farm, the hours you put in, it shows. The further away you live, you try and cut corners here and cut corners there, and it will show.
When you come to Amityville, there are a few things. There are things here that can help to foster your production. One, we have a team of stakeholders working together to cater to your needs. We have the RAD extension officers, we have the persons from NIC, we have the team from AIC. We also have a group of farmers that are willing to work together to help to move the produce not from the ground to the plate.
Did you know that the EU has been doing a lot of work in Jamaica? The EU provided some 23 billion Jamaican dollars to help people living in sugar-dependent areas. This means new houses for sugar estate workers, rehabilitated roads, improved schools, health centers, vocational training, business grants, and a wide range of action to improve the lives of people in sugar-dependent areas.
Life sweet of it true with the EU.
On the eve of his official funeral, we pause now to pay tribute to the late Kenneth Lee O'Neill Baugh, political giant and true humanitarian.
His life's work stands as an example to all.
Dr. Baugh was really a gentleman.
A man of great honor, integrity, dignity, great Jamaican.
Dr. Ken Baugh represented the best of Jamaica.
Kenneth Lee O'Neill Baugh was born on February 24, 1941 in the parish of St. James. His early years saw him attending Springfield Primary School and Cornwall College. He later advanced to the University of the West Indies, UWI, where he studied medicine, becoming a surgeon by profession. During his medical career, Dr. Baugh was Senior Registrar in General Surgery and Cardiothorax Surgery at the University Hospital of the West Indies. He was also consultant surgeon at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, where he later became the Senior Medical Officer and Chairman of the Professional Doctors at the hospital. A humanitarian at heart, Dr. Baugh gave of his time and service as a physician to care for others, a trait he continued when he entered politics. Dr. Baugh was a member of the Jamaica Labour Party and served as a Member of Parliament for North West St. James between 1980 and 1987, and as Member of Parliament for West Central St. Catherine from 1997 until his retirement in 2015.
He is most fondly remembered for being always available as a medical practitioner, day, night, anytime at all, to provide support for his constituents in the medical field, whether they could afford it or not. In fact, most of the times, totally free. Dr. Baugh represented the St. Catherine West Central constituency with distinction.
In that same constituency, Dr. Ken Baugh advocated for farmers and established a revolving loan scheme with the National People's Cooperative Bank, providing sustainable financial assistance. He also facilitated the distribution of power lines in communities and the electrification of homes through the Rural Electrification Program. Another legacy of Dr. Baugh is that he championed the distribution of potable water in Kitson Town and its environs. In politics, Dr. Baugh also served as Minister of Health from 1980 to 1989 and made great strides in advocating several health policies. Some of these include bilateral agreements that improved the primary healthcare system, streamlining systems for the procurement and distribution of drugs and supplies, and increasing the number of dental clinics to deal with oral health. He also collaborated with tertiary institutions to facilitate the expansion of manpower training at the basic and post-basic level. Other positions held by the statesman were Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and for a short period, interim leader of the opposition. This was when the late former Prime Minister Edward Seaga was stepping down as head of the Jamaica Labour Party, and former Prime Minister Bruce Golding was in waiting for confirmation as the new leader.
The question was, during the interregnum, who would be the leader of the opposition? And by consensus, all MPs at the time, including myself, agreed that we could entrust this position to Ken Baugh.
Committed to service, Dr. Baugh was also Deputy Prime Minister of Jamaica and a Senator, as well as General Secretary and Chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party.
It was marked by his calmness, yet firmness, and how he was able to bring contending sides together without damage to the organization. He was able to settle a lot of disputes in a calm, reasonable fashion that only a Dr. Baugh could do.
Dr. Baugh also crossed the political divide to ensure Jamaica's best interests were represented.
When I became Minister of Health in April 2006, he gave me about an hour after all the members left an overview of the Ministry of Health.
As opposition spokesman on foreign affairs and foreign trade at that time, I brought to this House a resolution on Cuba, and Dr. Baugh and myself sat together and worked through the resolution, making some minor adjustments, but he offered a solution to what all of us knew was the correct thing to do, but it was taking on a partisan flavor.
This non-partisan position transcended to his advocacy of the most vulnerable in society.
The situation, Mr. Speaker, of children being denied birth certificates because of the parents' inability to pay hospital fees must be discontinued. This practice makes a mockery of our agonized cries regarding the rights of a child. We must never underestimate the respect for rights and freedoms of our citizens, but also the responsibility we have to create a paradigm within which everybody operates.
He also spoke firmly of productivity as a means to drive economic growth.
This is a challenge to us now, to utilize the assistance available, to build capacity and to modernize our production, to increase that component of industrial activity in terms of our gross domestic product.
Dr. Baugh retired from representational politics in 2015 after 30 years due to ill health. In 2016, he was conferred with the Order of Jamaica for his distinguished service to Parliament, public service, and for his contribution to medicine. After battling with poor health, Dr. Baugh died on September 1, 2019. He was 78 years of age. He is survived by his wife Vilma and 3 children, Melanie, Warren, and Gregory.
Good men must die, but death cannot kill their names.
Dr. Ken Baugh is hailed by his colleagues as the consummate professional who gave the better part of his life in service for the people he represented and his country.
He said very sharply and distinctly, "I will never migrate." It was like a final commitment. He'll never migrate. And he'll do whatever it is to help the people of this country and to make Jamaica a better place.
I think his reputation for decency and goodwill earned him the respect of all his colleagues within the House on all sides.
He was not about power. He was about service. And that is, to me, the signal marker of his integrity.
So, since we've been talking much about a simplified business process, let's keep the narrative going and explore a few of the software or applications that have revolutionized the business environment. The first one, Google Docs and Dropbox. These are some of the best ways to collaborate and share documents with colleagues and store business information in a personal cloud storage. Number 2, Adobe PDF. Now, this is a file format that has captured all the elements of a printed document as an electronic image that you can view, navigate, print, or forward to others. Third, a VPN. This provides secure connections between private networks linked through the internet. VPN allows you to be at home and access your company's computers in the same way as if you were right there at work. Number 4, Wi-Fi. This allows mobile users to work from just about anywhere. Wi-Fi can allow workers to tap into wireless printers or even exchange files over a network. Now, I'm sure that just by using these things at work, you'd have realized that they all help in shaping Jamaica to be the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and without a doubt, do business. So we're closing the book for today, but that's only to make way for a new edition tomorrow. And if you missed any of today's happenings, you can watch it all again on our website or our YouTube channel. You can also follow the JIS team on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter pages. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious.
Serious about business.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange celebrates 50 years of adding value to the Jamaican economy to personal and corporate investment portfolios. Tonight, the stock exchange looks back from 1969 to 2019, where it has been hailed the world's leading stock exchange. I'm Elon Parkinson. This is Business Access TV, serious about business.
Good evening, and welcome to the JSE's 50th anniversary cocktails and award ceremony. A round of applause, please. My name is Terry Carell Reid, and I stand here honored to be your MC for this evening for a number of reasons. Number one, for any company, whether domestic or international, to achieve 50 years is an indication of the stewardship, the vision, the innovation, and the adaptation throughout the years. Do you agree? It is also a reflection of the persons who stand behind the brand or the company. Those persons are the staff, the companies that listed, brokers, and of course, investors. Without all of you, none of this would be possible. Number two, I was swollen with pride when I opened the Bloomberg article and I saw, "Welcome to Jamaica, the home of the world's best performing stock market." And I clutched the pearls that I wasn't wearing and I said, "This is rich, real rich." I saw photos of Mrs. Street Forrest. I saw Mrs. Rita Humphreys Lewin. These were people that I've seen in my local newspapers. And I said, look at Jamaica. Very small, very obscure market. So I stand here honored to be the MC for a company that is a nation builder. Lastly, I'm happy to stand here because years ago I was financially illiterate. Saving, yes, because most of us as Jamaicans, that's what we do, right? We save, but we don't necessarily know about investment. And my best friend came to me and he said, "Terry, with all the saving that you've been doing, I think you should make your money work for you. I think you should invest." And I said, "But no, investment is for rich people, money people," which I'm not. But I'm grateful for my broker, Ryan Strong, who introduced me to the Jamaica Stock Exchange, introduced me to companies listed, and now I stand here with a portfolio that has moved from being very, 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 very conservative to being moderately risky. And on my daughter's 7th birthday, I gifted her her own portfolio. So you see, thank you very much. So I stand here not just as your MC for this evening, but I stand here as a very proud Jamaican. I stand here as a shareholder, and I stand here as an empowered citizen, changing the way my generation will think when it comes to handling and investing money. So thank you so very much for being here. We have a fantastic evening lined up for you.
It's with a sense of pride, nostalgia, and eager anticipation that I welcome you here this evening. As I contemplated my welcome to you, the single most important element of our journey, that's the 50th journey, that resonates with me is that since 1968, we have come this far through teamwork, perseverance, and a deep understanding of our mission. I believe it is an understanding rooted in the fact that the exchange's success is not singularly for shareholders, the government, or the financial community, but for the entire Jamaica. I did not have to go very far to find a poem, a quotable quote, or the words of some famous author to communicate what has been our reason for being for over these 50 years, as our jingle that one hears when you call the stock exchange says it all. 50 years of practicing transparency, integrity, and efficiency to protect and advance stakeholders' welfare, the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I know many people are familiar with that jingle. JSE for you and me, benefit from listing and investing, Jamaica Stock Exchange. This is a call that we have been making over the years to encourage investors, to encourage companies, to encourage Jamaica to see the stock exchange as the vehicle for wealth creation. It is through these principles and the rallying cry that we have weathered the storm and embraced the victories of being resolute and militant and becoming the Jamaica Stock Exchange triumphant in accomplishments, especially that of being named the best performing exchange globally for 2015 and 2018. Indeed, we are little but tallow. A journey of 50 years is a blessing. We thank God for the lessons learned, the experiences gained, and the wisdom that comes through the process of perseverance and tenacity. From a paper-covered meeting table at the Bank of Jamaica to an efficient computer-based network system that is linked into an electronic trading platform where transactions are automatically matched and settlements are processed in a paperless environment. And to our credit, we did that before the New York Stock Exchange. From being a private, closely held mutual company to becoming a demutualized exchange with publicly held and listed shares. We have consistently made progress, and our highest points were when we demutualized and listed our shares on April 1, 2008 and July 23, 2013, respectively, and when we launched the junior market on April 1, 2009. I pause for that because I think it was a signal moment. These occasions signal a new era. In the case of demutualization, we separated the regulatory arm of the exchange from the commercial functions, so as to eliminate any perception of conflict of interest and to ensure a fair, orderly, and transparent market for shares and other securities traded on the market. This has brought a high degree of confidence to the market. In listing our shares on the exchange, we expanded our ownership base and subjected ourselves to the same rules and regulations governing other listed companies. And that was hard, because some of the times when you are regulating, you don't know how hard it is until you actually start doing it yourself. Finally, in launching the junior market, we provided greater access to capital, which encouraged and expanded investor base. These experiences have strengthened our core. The progress we have made was not achieved without setbacks and challenges, and the path we have clearly charted over the years for further expansion of the capital market locally, regionally, and globally is oftentimes slow and painful. However, our pledge to you going forward is that we will continue to seek out and deliver market opportunities in a deliberate and constructive manner, exercising good judgment as we seek to expand our markets. In the words of Coffee, I told you we are young. Gratitude is a must. We thank God for the journey, the earnings, and just for the plus. Gratitude is a must. Once again, welcome. I invite you to enjoy the rest of the evening's proceedings.
Thank you so very much for having us. And of course, gratitude is a must.
A journey of 50 years for the Jamaica Stock Exchange. When we come back, the awards.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
So we have now come to the awards presentation segment, and I invite the great Mr. Michael Anthony Cuff to join me on stage, and together we'll present the awards, which will be done in 3 categories. Please make him welcome. So we have 3 categories: the 60s, known as the formative years, the 70s to 90s, the shaping years, and the millennium, the technological era.
This is the period of ska music in Jamaica and the birth of the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Absolutely. At this time, we pause to invite to the stage Mr. Ian McNaughton, chairman of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, who will present the awards to the recipients in this category. We begin with founding member. The first award is in recognition of his sterling contribution to the development and establishment of the JSE. He was a man of vision for the financial sector and was instrumental in helping to lay a solid foundation for the JSE in 1968, from which the exchange has grown strong, thanks to his early works and blessings over the years, even up to January 2019. He's dubbed by various names in Jamaica and across the world, but to the JSE, he's the architect and bridge builder of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. The JSE is proud to honor his name, his undeniable legacy, and his vision that formed the JSE to becoming the #1 stock exchange in the world, not once, but twice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor and humility that we wholeheartedly present the first and most deserving award to the late, most honorable Edward Seaga, former Prime Minister of Jamaica.
I invite you all to stand and join hands in applause as Mr. Edward Mackey makes his way to collect the award on behalf of Mr. Seaga's family. We now move to the affiliated companies. Now, the second set of awards will be presented to 5 affiliated companies that were instrumental in contributing to the development of the JSE by providing persons to serve on the board. In no particular order. Terry?
The first award goes to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica.
The second award goes to the Bank of Jamaica.
And the third award, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service.
And award number 4 goes to the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
We move to the next category, listed companies since inception. The third set of awards will be presented to 6 companies that have been listed on the exchange since inception in ranking order of seniority. The first award goes to Panjam Investments Limited.
The second award goes to, I knew this organization, but it was just called the Bank of Nova Scotia Jamaica Limited. Now, these days, Scotia Bank Group Jamaica Limited.
The third award goes to the Caribbean Cement Company.
Award number 4 goes to Carreras Limited.
And the 5th award goes to Salado Foods Jamaica Limited.
So the 6th award will be given to the Gleaner Company Limited.
And the 7th award goes to the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited. Okay, I don't believe we have a representative for JPSCO. So now we move to longest member dealer. Ladies and gentlemen, the award goes to NCB Capital Markets Limited, formerly known as Edward Gale and Company Limited.
In this segment, awards will be given to those who have built on the foundation of the JSE and assisted in its shaping by making significant contributions to its growth and development. Now, the first award goes to a remarkable woman who is the first and only female chairperson of a stock exchange in the Caribbean. She's also the longest-serving chairperson of the JSE, leading the Jamaica Stock Exchange in this capacity from 1984 to 1986, and again from 1995 to 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak of none other than Mrs. Rita Humphreys Lewin.
So we now move to the longest serving board members. The second recipient of this award is the longest serving member of the JSE's board. This gentleman stands as the quiet colossus of the Jamaican stock market. Ladies and gentlemen, the award goes to Mr. Edwin Mackey, CD. The other awardee in this category goes to none other than Mr. Alvaro Casali, CDJP. This gentleman is the longest serving board member of the Jamaica Central Securities Depository and the JCSD's Trustee Services Limited.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Through the years here at the Jamaica Stock Exchange's 50 years in service. Let's go back to more awards.
Next, we have the third category. This is the millennium, the technology age. This category is to recognize those who contributed to the dynamics of catapulting into another age, the age of technology. Boy, I tell you. You know, these awards will be given to those who further continued to build bigger layers on what was already there, and who saw greater vision of possibilities as time evolved into another dimension. So we're going to now honor past chairman of the JSE. The first recipient is someone who was board chairman from 2000 to 2006. I speak of Mr. Roy Johnson, JP.
Let us hear it for the board chairman who served from 2006 to 2011, Mr. Curtis Martin.
We move next to the board chairman from 2014 to 2016, Mr. Alan Lewis.
The next two awards will be presented to the persons who served as general manager of the Jamaica Stock Exchange's subsidiary, the Jamaica Central Securities Depository, JCSD, since its inception in 2008. The first of the two awards will be presented to the general manager who served the JCSD from 2003 to 2004 and moved on to serve the JSE in a similar capacity and subsequently to an even higher capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak of none other than Mrs. Marlene Street Forrest, CDJP.
The second and last award is being presented to the general manager who served from 2005 to 2017 and steered several ventures of the JCSD, including the birth of the JCSD's subsidiary, the JCSD's Trustees Services Limited. And that award goes to Mr. Robin Levy.
This segment of awards is for those dubbed the architects of the junior market. They helped to carve and mold the ins and outs of the junior market, and it would not be possible for the junior market to be established without them. In recognition of your sterling contribution to the development of the JSE's junior market, we recognize this gentleman, the Honorable Audley Shaw. The first company to be listed on the junior market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange is Access Financial Services Limited. Congratulations. We also have to recognize Senator Don Webby, who was instrumental in lobbying the government for the tax incentives. Mr. Stephen Whittingham, a board member of the JSE, will collect the award on behalf of Mr. Webby. We now recognize the steering committee of the junior market, beginning with Mr. Leo Williams. We'll move to another Williams, Mr. Christopher Williams. He is followed by Miss Judith Ramlogan. And last but not least, recognizing the members of the steering committee of the junior market, Mrs. Marlene Street Forrest.
Looking back to outstanding achievements by former general managers and chairpersons of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Coming up next, the employees.
Our women are the backbone of our society. They deserve to be protected and respected. Domestic violence is not okay. Speak up and speak out. No more violence against women.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, no organization can be built without the employees' contribution. And tonight, the Jamaica Stock Exchange takes great pleasure in recognizing its employees that have contributed to building the stock exchange over the years, which has led to the company receiving numerous awards and recognition, locally and globally. And for the stock exchange being named not once, but twice, in 2015 and in 2018, as the best performing stock exchange in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the staff of the JSE for contribution to the stock exchange 25 years and counting. This award goes to Mrs. Charlotte Eddie Nugent for contribution. This now is for JSE 20 years and over. Number one, Mrs. Doreen Parsons Smith. Next we have Mrs. Suzette White. As we welcome our next recipient, Miss Suzette Price. Let's make welcome Miss Michelle Serdar. Up next, Mrs. Annette Paran Hedman. JSE has benefited handsomely, tremendously under her guidance and direction. I speak of none other than the inimitable Mrs. Marlene Street Forrest.
So we move on to the recipients, and we honor them for their contribution to the exchange 15 years and over. Beginning with Miss Suzette McNaught. The next recipient in this category is Miss Ricalia Robb. Our next recipient is Mr. Byron Winter. He is followed by Mr. Neville Noble. And closing out the category 15 years and over is Miss Tracy Winter. So we move now to the contributors to the stock exchange 10 years and over. We begin with Mrs. Cadil McNaught Hermit. Let us hear it for Mr. Andre Tulloch. And he is followed by Mr. Neville Ellis. Let us hear it for Mrs. Angela Bailey. Mr. Michael Johnson. And rounding out this category 10 years and over is Miss Monia Hibbert.
Terry, I'm going to give your pipes a rest while I just take over here for the next category of JSE 5 years and over. Please put your hands together one more time for the staff of the world-class Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of your award ceremony. On behalf of Sir Michael Anthony Clough and myself, congratulations on 50 years. We wish to see you do 100 and 100 and 100 more, and certainly keep on knocking down those barriers. And I'd love to keep on reading about our stock market doing and being the best. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your company. Thank you for your time.
We're with General Manager of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Marlene Street Forrest. Indeed, an illustrious career, certainly with the Jamaica Stock Exchange, taking it to higher heights and global recognition. Your thoughts on the JSE at 50?
Well, the JSE at 50, we have come a far way, we're a long way. And you know, what we have done is we are in the digital age. And I'm pleased that we are properly positioned for the next 50. Because it is important that we see growth and continued development. And the JSE is here in Jamaica, but we are positioned for the world. Globally, we are making progress. And soon you will see more about us in terms of the digital age. Digital assets, we will be looking at things like short selling, margin trading, all of those things that are really critical to the growth and development of the company.
Giving fitting recognition to employees, the way to close out the 50th anniversary of the Jamaica Stock Exchange's awards. Indeed, a stellar event attended by the movers and shakers in Jamaica's financial industry. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Elon Parkinson for Business Access TV, serious about business.
Watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious.
Serious about business.
It was a meeting of two cities when the Montego Bay Convention Center hosted cocktails in Kingston at the Spanish Court Hotel, Worthington. Business Access TV was there to share in the moment.
First and foremost, on behalf of the team, I want to say a heartfelt thank you for being here. You could have been at other places, you could have been at other events, you could have been at other functions, but you found the convention center team very well to join us. So thank you again. All right? And so to go into this, again, just welcome, a heartfelt welcome. The Montego Bay Convention Center team is here. We have gone around, we have spoken to a lot of persons, but tonight it's very special for us because so many familiar faces, so many partners, so many clients, returning clients, possible clients, and the list goes on. So again, you will not hear me enough to say thank you, because that's a word that from the convention center, it's a part of us, and we really take pride in showing appreciation. This evening is truly special for us, for it has been a long time coming. Kingston has been a long time coming. And, you know, Montego Bay Convention Center, of course, we opened our doors in 2011 and to the events and meeting industry. And, but connecting with our friends and our partners in Kingston has always been on the top of our mind. Over the years, we have received substantial support from our clients in Kingston. Therefore, this event had to be in our cards. And of course, we have a large deck, but you're on top of that deck. And we know good things happen in Kingston. So like many other parishioners, we packed up everything and we headed into Kingston on the town bus yesterday. Some of the team came in, when was it? Monday. And they say, Aaron, the traffic. And I said, it can't be worse than Montego Bay. And we found ourselves here sitting in this room 5:30 because we've said there's not one partner that is standing in front of us now that is going to be here and not see a team member from the convention center representing. So again, team, thank you. Hopefully, any guest tonight, and this is not meant to mean anything, but any guest tonight that have never experienced the convention center, unfortunately, you're in the minority. But what we want you to do when you're in Montego Bay, please come and visit. Sit with us, have lunch. Let's tour you. Let's show you the technology. Let's show you what some of our partners in this room have done with us. We have transformed the convention center. And of course, there are many events. And one of the things that we had looked at is how we put all the assets, the available assets, through our vendors, through our partners, together to really make the convention center what it is. The purpose of the convention center was never a self-sustained entity. It's to really contribute to economic development. And what we're measured on is not only profitability, but our economic impact. And we've seen it, especially in Montego Bay. But one of the initiatives that we had is to bring Kingston a little bit to Montego Bay as well through our friends and partners that are here tonight. So the Montego Bay Convention Center represents opportunities, one for us to think differently and see possibilities for now and the future. The center firmly places Jamaica as a viable destination for meetings, conferences, exhibitions, and of course, a selection of certain sporting activity that relates to sport tourism. So while the honor is mine to welcome you, I always want to thank you for taking the time out in engaging with us. Think differently. That is what I want to drive in your thought process when it comes to the Montego Bay Convention Center. Let us work with the possibility. Let us make the possibilities become a reality. The sales and events team, they're here tonight. And I really want to identify the team members. I know when it comes to this part, they tend to just come together. And when I start to call the names, they're going to raise their hands. And they're going to say who they are. And of course, we all know them. So leading the sales and events team is, of course, our director of sales and events, Miss Mavoy Smith. Of course, there's Mavoy. We do have the sales managers with us tonight. You do have Donald Thompson. Where's Donald? Donald? There he is. There he is. Thank you, Donald. And of course, you have Alexia. Thank you, Alexia. And there's one lady here that she's a blend of food and beverage and sales. We call her catering sales. That's Trishani. So food is always important. So Trishani, thank you again. Trishani Austin. Our senior events manager, Kyan Henton. Many of you know Kyan. Many of you have been exposed to Kyan. Spearheading the senior events. Thank you, Kyan. So again, we have one lady that keeps us together. She's Michelle Gordon. Michelle is really our executive assistant and of course sales administrator. Sometimes we're based on a property, based on an events, we're pulled left, right, and center. If it's not for Michelle Gordon, we term her MG, the acronym MG, we would be all over the place. So MG's responsibility is to keep us together, keep us focused, and also keep us well fed. Thank you. ASEAN, many of you heard from ASEAN, know ASEAN PR, marketing, sponsorship. What else? What else? And he takes the beautiful pictures. So with your permission tonight, ladies and gentlemen, ASEAN will, of course, on social media. I'm still catching up with technology. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, InstaChat. I got that right? Just joking. Just joking. So again, that's a team that is here tonight. And they're out, and they're here well represented. So, of course, Dr. Guntley, my second mother. Wave your hands for me, please. Thank you. John Woolcock, he heads up the events department for Jamaica Tourist Board. And of course, the Convention Center. We're now a part of the Ministry of Tourism. We're an agency under the Ministry of Tourism. John, very vital to our organization, very vital in terms of the partnership and to allow Jamaica to be recognized again, not only as leisure, but as meetings and conventions. Because really, the large groups that the Convention Center will and the future possibilities to bring into Jamaica, of course, will create that economic impact that we're pushing for Jamaica to recognize. Not only about profitability, but looking at economic impact, whether it be indirect or direct, to see how that trickles down for the entire geographic location to benefit. So again, that's a mandate and purpose of the Convention Center in partnership with our main sister agency, the Jamaica Tourist Board. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, and I do hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
I'm 36. I'm a husband, a manager, and still very good looking. In 2 hours, I have the most important meeting of my life. But first, it's time to play. The new Suzuki Vitara.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life. Delighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life surrounds art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
we're here at the Spanish Court Hotel, Worthington, for the Cocktails in Kingston. Why is it important for the Montego Bay Convention Center to have this event tonight?
It's very important to us because a few things that we have highlighted and wanted to bring forefront is that we recognize and appreciate our partners in Kingston, our clients in Kingston, our potential clients in Kingston. Of course, we do have these events just to mingle, just to share our thoughts process, not in terms of business, but just to get everyone inside a room. And of course, we just talk in a informal or formal environment, and we just get together. So that's really the purpose of our vendors, our partners, our agencies, from the ministries to our suppliers. We just get everyone in and show our appreciation.
You mentioned the Jamaica Tourist Board as one of your major partners. How has that relationship been?
It is excellent, and it is a relationship that has been in the making since our inception. The Tourist Board is very important to us. Jamaica Tourist Board, of course, is what we consider as our DMO, or Destination Marketing Organization, that assists the convention center in not only marketing the facility to any other destination that would willing to come offshore, especially the international destinations, but what they do as well is to market Jamaica and assist us in not only marketing as Sun and Sierra Leisure, but to ensure that Jamaica is seen as a meetings and events destination that can host large group in a first world facility.
And speaking of that first world facility, tell us a little bit about the Montego Bay Convention Center and what people can expect from the venue.
Montego Bay Convention Center, managed by SMG, a North American-based company that manages 85% of the public facilities in the world. Of course, First World, now we have a mandate to ensure that that First World facility is represented here in Jamaica. And of course, Montego Bay Convention Center opened its door in 2011 to the events industry. And what we really do is to host events. I mean, regardless from your weddings to your largest expos, to your exhibition, to your conventions, to your sporting events, to your church events. So we're an all-inclusive package. We're a flexible facility. And what we do is to host any and every event. So that's basically what we do. And what to expect is our people. We have a set of well-trained staff, and events is our core business. And what we did in the initial stage is to ensure that our team members, they're fully aware of all aspects of event management, certified and also recognized internationally. So what you will expect from the Montego Bay Convention Center is the highest level of technology, the best aesthetics, theme, and the best management you can think of bringing your event from a thought process to reality. So that's what we're all about.
And finally, now that you're here in Kingston for this event, what kind of connections are you hoping to make at Cocktails in Kingston tonight?
Yes, we do have quite a few corporate partners in Kingston, but what we want to do is to bring Kingston to Montego Bay. Get Kingston to come to Montego Bay, see what the convention center is all about. So for potential clients that we do have, it's just to mingle, to invite them, just to, a short presentation, show what we're about, and then of course to invite those potential clients down, and of course get them to know the convention center, come in, explore the property, do inspection, see the technology, see the staff, meet the people, meet the strength behind the asset, and then of course we go from there. So in a sense, it's really to have Kingston in Montego Bay, and of course to expand our business, which that's the whole intention.
The Montego Bay Convention Center opened its doors about 8 years ago. What have we seen from the convention center over the years?
Well, the convention center since 2011 to now 2019, we've done a little bit over 700 events. We've done a lot of weddings, we've done graduations, we've done car shows, we've done meetings, conventions. We're home to most of the major churches in Jamaica where they do their annual conventions with us. So we're home to the Jamaica Baptist, the United Open Bible, the Jehovah's Witnesses, you name it, we're home to them.
And as was mentioned, the Jamaica Tourist Board is a major partner with the Montego Bay Convention Center. How has that experience or how has that relationship been over the years?
Very positive. Having the convention center in Montego Bay means that we have the ability to go after larger groups that will support the hotels in the area. And without the convention center, this was a void. So of course having a state-of-the-art facility in Montego Bay opens up a lot of opportunities for us. And we're seeing where MICE planners are really taking a very close look at the destination, whereas in the past they might have said, you know what, this group is a little bit too large for Jamaica or for Montego Bay. Now it's on the table. Now Jamaica is even more viable.
And can you comment on the impact this has had on the tourism industry over the years?
The Montego Bay Convention Center, as Karen Benjamin, our interim general manager, mentioned earlier, that our core function is basically to support the community. So our aim is to bring in, as John just mentioned, the larger groups to Jamaica, so it will impact the hotels. So we basically get heads in beds. You'll have the coconut man on the roadside being able to sell more jelly coconuts, the cane man, the nightlife, so the Margaritaville's, the Pier 1s, you name it, so it's like a domino effect. So all partners involved will be able to get a piece of the pie.
And it's only been here since 2011, so can you comment on what impacts has been made to tourism before and now?
Well, again, as Mavoy just mentioned, it's all positive in the sense that we're getting more business, increased business, more visitor arrivals coming in. Conventions that would not have considered Jamaica, now they're looking at the destination, they're actually booking the destination. So again, it's very positive. We have become even more competitive in the marketplace.
How do you see the center being utilized in new ways to pull more visitors?
We are trying to focus more heavily on the sporting events. So as it is now, we host the NCAA, that's a basketball competition, every November, and this competition is aired live on CBS. So not only Jamaicans get an opportunity to see what can happen at the convention center, but persons internationally will be able to see what we're doing, and they may think to say, okay, so I can bring a sporting event to Jamaica. So it's not just meetings and conventions, we're pretty much multifunctional, which is why in our different spaces at the convention center, there's nothing fixed. So whatever the event is, we can accommodate it. If it's a car show, we can do it. If it's basketball, we can do it. If it's taekwondo, we can do it. So you name it, we can do it.
And anything new from the tourist board that you can mention?
The Jamaica Tourist Board is always looking at new opportunities. We have a very strong team in the market, so we are pursuing a lot of new ventures. So it's going to be great for Jamaica moving forward. We're seeing it in our visitor arrivals. It continues to grow. And again, it's going from strength to strength. But we have a gem in MBCC, no question about it. And all of our partners, from the hotels, the DMCs, the attractions, it's all very good.
Your company has hosted several events at the Montego Bay Convention Center. Talk to us about the experience working with them.
It's an amazing experience working with the team there. One of the wonderful things about the convention center and the team is that level of engagement. They take on your project as if it's their own, and they're really involved from start to finish. And it's something that you really appreciate as a project manager and an event manager, because you want to be assured that all of the details of your event are taken care of. Usually you're planning an event from Kingston at the Montego Bay Convention Center, so having that level of oversight, that level of attention to detail is really very important to us. So it's something that we really appreciate. After a while, they become your friends. It's really an amazing team there. So I'd recommend anyone to go to the convention center. And it's not just about the team, it's about the facilities, it's about the facilitation, it's about the accommodation of each and every request. So I can't say enough good things about them there. Mm-hmm.
And how important would you say a venue like this is for Jamaica?
Oh, absolutely, very important. I mean, Jamaica, as the general manager just said, Jamaica is more than just sea and sand. And it's very important that you have a facility that can accommodate local, nationally scaled, as well as regional and international events right here on our shores. It's an opportunity for various industries to be showcased, for us to stage events that have multi-tiered opportunities for varied groups. So for the hotel sector, the broader tourism sector, for other persons here in Jamaica, it really makes sense for you to have a facility like this in Jamaica. And I can only wish that they go from strength to strength in terms of the range of services that they offer that will ensure that we entice as many people here as possible to utilize the services and the facilities that are here.
Hi, I'm Peter Shakir from Event and Entertainment Services. We're an event management and planning company, and we do many events across the island and abroad as well. We also own Jamaica Bridal Expo, and this is my partner, Joanne Paxton, and she'll talk to you a little bit about hosting Jamaica Bridal Expo at the Montego Bay Convention Center.
We've hosted the Jamaica Bridal Expo at the Montego Bay Convention Center for the past 6 years, and Jamaica Bridal Expo is at home at the Convention Center. Everything is positive about the venue, the grand ballroom, what you have the expo in, the conference room where we hold a conference on the first day of activities for the expo, and the staff at the Montego Bay Convention Center is absolutely amazing.
Thank you for tuning into our coverage of Cocktails in Kingston, hosted by the Montego Bay Convention Center. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Do you want more experience from your SUV? Introducing the 2020 Nissan X-Trail with leading-edge technology, intelligent ride and chassis control, a round view monitor, and hill start assist for confidence behind the wheel. Plus, auto headlights and panoramic sunroof. Drive the SUV with more experience. The Nissan X-Trail, available today at Fidelity Motors.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
It's Season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access. Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
I wanted to be an educator because I believe that education is the most powerful weapon that can change the world.
My dreams and aspiration is to one day become an entrepreneur where I can employ other persons and help to build the country.
I wanted to go into development. I wanted to help people become better versions of themselves. Growing up, I saw a lot of violence, I saw a lot of crime, I saw a lot of poverty. The challenges are so many. The first one that comes to mind is the level of youth unemployment that's here.
Challenges that exist here in West Prospect Bogwalk are lack of awareness for educational opportunities or job opportunities.
Not many got a chance to do CXC or graduate from the secondary level. So that's a major setback for the people living in the community.
A way to alleviate this issue is training programs.
They need more opportunities, like to go back to school to get themselves a certificate so they can be able to work and create employment for themselves and their family.
Push more entrepreneurship opportunity, encourage these youths to be creative and innovative in what they do. Give them startup capital to start their business. Invest more in the youth skills and talents.
The Poverty Reduction Program is funded by the European Union, and it really is a program that focuses on the most vulnerable type of communities, making communities safer, making citizens more healthy, better access to education.
For European Union, investing in youth is an obvious choice. They are the future of the country. If we prepare them well, they will bring the change that Jamaica needs. That's why we invest in scholarships, internship, training in life skills and mentorship.
I received a tertiary scholarship from PRP to attend the University of Technology, Jamaica. It meant a lot to me because I realized that somebody else believed in me and somebody saw the potential that I have and somebody believed that I could actually achieve my goal.
I benefited by getting firstly an internship, and also they assisted my bachelor's degree financially. But critically, outside of the finances, the persons that were on the project, the motivation that they provided, etc., it really provided a huge boost.
This is my third year at the MICO. This scholarship, it helped me to be able to focus only on my education here, because tertiary education is not cheap.
I was placed at ODPEM on the one-year internship program. It was really good. It was an opportunity for me to prove myself, to give myself a service, and also to gain experience in the working world, and to also provide for my family.
I plan to be an agent of change in my community by being a mentor, a leader, and a godfather for the youths growing up. Try to help them teach them a trade.
You don't have to be rich to help. You don't have to achieve greatness to start. I contributed to my basic school by providing them with the necessary resources that they need, that I believe that in the long run, it will have a ripple effect on many, many persons.
Professionally, I manage the Hope program, which is aimed at giving young persons the opportunity to, do what I did, basically, to get their foot inside an organization. Additionally, I also have a little small business that I try to employ young persons to learn a skill, etc.
When you're persistent in life, when you're determined, when you're hungry for success, then you'll be able to accomplish and achieve anything that you want.
It has changed hundreds and hundreds of lives. Not just my life, my family lives, my friends' lives, etc. I want to just urge everyone looking on to continue these social programs. These are the solutions to the many ills that we face as a society and as a country and even as a world. So thank you, and I challenge you, continue it. It's needed.
On this episode, Mackay talks to us about taking risks.
I've taken some huge financial risks over the years, but I would say the biggest risk probably would be picking up and moving my entire life to Jamaica.
The growth with ADS Global.
ADS over the past 3 years has really diversified its model.
And the biggest misconception that many may have about him, he finally puts to rest.
I think the biggest misconception that people have is that I'm this, big businessman from the United States that's very well off. I'm Ron McKay, CEO of ADS Global, co-founder of the company, a full-service contact center out of Montego Bay, and just last year became the new president for the American Chamber of Commerce here in Jamaica. Ron McKay is an entrepreneur that's trying to build a business, several businesses. Wants to have a lot of fun along the way, but also trying to make a difference along the way. I try to give back where I can and when I can to communities, and I try to surround myself with good people. And I think when you surround yourself with good people, you can not only get ahead in life, but bring a bunch of people to get ahead with life with you. I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Grew up, both sides of my family came from migrant families. My mother's side from Italy, my father's side from Scotland. Both sets of grandparents and aunts and uncles, we all lived within one city block in brick row homes. And eventually my father and mother moved out of the city into the suburban area. Grew up at the Jersey Shore on the beach. Grew up a major sports fan of the Philadelphia teams. And essentially, my parents instilled in a very young age in me that you're gonna have to work hard for anything that you want to accomplish in life. They were both self-made people. My dad went through university on the Army bill for scholarship after being in the Army, and was at night work, actually raising two sons, and I was actually at his college graduation. My mother was a school teacher for 35 years, Catholic school teacher. And matter of fact, she was my 8th grade English teacher at one time, which was my toughest grade I ever got. And I always had jobs, always entrepreneurial based. I had the largest paper route in my neighborhood, worked after school as a stock boy in a retail store, worked the summers at restaurants down in the vacation resorts, had my own Christmas tree business. We sold Christmas trees, and then eventually went on to Christian Brothers Academy, a private all-boys school in New Jersey for high school. Really, that's when I started to really learn some good values about, leadership, values and friendship, surrounding yourself with good people. And then went on to Villanova University outside of Philadelphia. Got into the real estate business while I was still at school. Rented homes back to my fellow students. I was in a landlord business. Became president of the basketball organization, traveled with the team for many years. Had a lot of fun with that, and then got into high-end luxury home building along the Jersey Shore, waterfront properties. And at age 22, amassed a very nice portfolio of real estate upon graduating university. And that was my first big experience, and at a very young age, getting into the business world. I think the motivation for me was, my father was a self-made business person, but he always worked for a big corporation. And growing up, he worked hard to give his children a great education and give his family a great home, and instilled those values in me. But also, I didn't get a chance to see him a lot. He was always traveling, or he'd come home late at night tired. And so at a very young age, I didn't want to go the traditional corporate business route, like most 95% of my friends graduating and on-campus interviews. So at a young age, I was always looking for something I could do for myself. And that's where the entrepreneurial spirit came in. So that, sometimes you might have to work 60, 80 days a week. You might work 3 weeks without a day off. But then at least you're doing it for yourself, and you're dictating the pace of where you go in life. I have a younger brother, 4 years younger. Lives still back in the Philadelphia area. And comes down to Jamaica a couple times a year, loves it down here. I have a lot of adopted family from the States because they all want to come down to Jamaica and then enjoy the weather. But yeah, just him and I, as far as a direct sibling. I got out of the real estate business not by choice. There was a banking crisis in the United States in the early 1990s. The savings and loan industry crashed, and basically real estate development became into a recession. I achieved success so fast and so soon at such an early age that I really never went and had to work within any type of structured framework, 9 to 5, or commute on a train, or travel with a car like a lot of my friends had done out of university. I made my own schedule. And I never thought of life past real estate at that point. I figured I'd just keep on doing this, for the rest of my life. And so when that came down, and I lost everything, I felt like I had failed because I didn't have any type of plan B. It wasn't about failing in real estate, because there were a lot of intangibles that much bigger business people than me, in the business their whole lives, went under, bankrupt and things like that, and the government had to come in and redo the entire banking industry. I just felt like I had no vision to say, well, what if someday this isn't working? What would I do next? And I had a very difficult time redefining myself and what I wanted to do, because I had taken this path of, I'm a very independent person. And then I thought, well, should I consider going to try to get a job, a traditional job? And I went through that period for a while, and it wasn't an easy period, because I just felt like also a lot of people around me were encouraging me at a young age to do well, but there were a lot of people around me too, even people that consider themselves friends, who were thinking, he's crazy, and then they were sort of waiting for it to fall apart. So I was also in that zone that I had to prove them wrong, but I wanted to make sure it was something that was sustainable, long-term, and that's really how I was feeling it at that time. I was, a little bit lost. I didn't know where really to go. I knew I'd find something and rebound. I'm a very resilient person, but I also knew at that particular time I was at major crossroads in my life at such a very young age. I've taken some huge financial risks over the years, but I would say the biggest risk probably would be picking up and moving my entire life to Jamaica.
Sundays at 4:30 p.m. It's all about Home Sweet Home. Get your half-hour dose of the business of real estate, from laws and concepts to reality, building, buying, or renting. Or what about trends in decor or renovations? Home Sweet Home will keep you up to date.
I was looking for something that was more, a business that was involved in more context, that you could have more of a service-based business versus tangible assets like real estate. Something you could liquidate, something you could create a value towards in a much easier fashion. And at that time, they were breaking up Ma Bell in the United States, all the big telephone companies. And they were opening up opportunities for entrepreneurs in the telephone business. And I had done some research, and I got involved with a company called Amerivox, and they introduced the very first prepaid phone card to the United States. And I bought the distribution rights for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and over a course of 3 years, we ramped that company up, pioneered the entire industry. Before then, the prepaid phone card didn't exist, and we sold that company off. And during that time period, got to meet a lot of celebrities, a lot of athletes, and I saw the power of merchandising by getting licensing agreements. We had agreements with the NFL players of football. We had Elvis Presley Enterprises, all these different images that we would put on the cards, and that's how we drove our marketing. So I approached a bunch of the former NFL football players to say, why don't we start our own telephone company? And we started Eagle Communications out of Philadelphia, and that was my first real company that I owned myself, and it was like a full service, small, like a small Digicel, small, cable and wireless in the Philadelphia area. I've taken some huge financial risks over the years, but I would say the biggest risk probably would be picking up and moving my entire life to Jamaica, because I had risks beyond just business. We moved to the Caribbean. The business moved probably about 14 years ago now, where we moved into the Eastern Caribbean. We built the very first call center in Guyana. We were the first privately funded call center company in Eastern Caribbean and St. Vincent and Grenada, and worked a little bit out of Barbados. And then eventually, 9 years ago last week, we came up to Montego Bay. And then 6 years ago, one of the three partners passed away, and I decided to take a risk financially to buy his estate out and become a majority shareholder in the company. But I also knew to do that, I couldn't be commuting back and forth to Philadelphia and come down, because I used to run the client relations, the sales, the marketing, and we had a small office still up in Philadelphia. Then I realized I had to be very hands-on here to build the investment, protect the investment. And that was a big thing, because you're at that point in my life, I just turned 40, and to get up, I always traveled, but to really live somewhere totally different, I would say that was the biggest risk I ever took. How we formed America Direct Services, ADS, at that time was we wanted people to know that even though the facility is outside the United States, everything is still directly tied to American operations, technology, account management, finance, the owners. So there was really a brand called America Direct Services, to try to overcome at that time the challenge of people not wanting to give you business if you weren't located in the United States. And that's how we formed America Direct Services. Number one challenge was the price of data connections and broadband back then. When we first came into the Eastern Caribbean, cable and wireless had a monopoly. There was no Digicel, there was no Flow, Merit, Columbus. Our data connection was for what they call an E1 to the United States was over 30,000 US a month. So think about how much the prices have come down. To run a quarter-mile fiber or a quarter-mile conduit to your building, because they didn't have network like now, that would be $250,000 US just to do a quarter mile. So you had big infrastructure challenges in the middle and during then. And then the other thing was, as a whole, the Caribbean was moving from an agricultural, manufacturer-based labor force to a service-based, with tourism originally being the original flow, but the countries we were in weren't big, huge tourism-based products in the Eastern Caribbean. Of course, Guyana not really being in that sector. So you had the challenge of the workforce understanding and educating and creating a pipeline of educated employees that understand the difference about working with a product or something they hold, or out in the field or something, and working behind technology, interfacing with people all over the world that they may never meet. So that was a challenge also. And I think just as a whole, living away from the United States of America and things you just become accustomed to every single day that you don't think about, you need to think about. I mean, even to this day here, things that you just take for granted elsewhere, it's not part of your routine. You don't have to think about how to overcome it here, and throughout the, developing worlds. They become part of your checklist that you need to do for the day. So those have been big challenges. I've become a lot more calmer though over the years. I come from an Italian family and a Scotch family, so you have the emotion and you have the stubbornness, and it took me a long time to adjust to life down here. And I think what really drives my life to be more patient is the people here as a whole are such a wholesome, good feeling vibe to the country and to the people. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the people factor. ADS over the past 3 years has really diversified its model. We've gone from traditional call center services, from one building to two buildings in Fairview and the Freeport and Montego Bay, to now offering traditional back office, BPO services. We do database management for Fortune 500 companies all over the world. We've now got into marketing for the tourism industry. So we have a sister company called Citico, which we're shareholders in, and we drive tourism-based marketing. One of our big clients here locally would be Palladium Resorts and Lucy. We also have clients where we've done now customized loyalty rewards programs. So we've built programs you'll hear soon for Digicel on travel and reward side. We built technology solutions for companies like Mystic Mountain. So we're doing a lot here domestically that we haven't done in the past. So we've diversified to dealing with our global customers, but also our domestic-based customers. And moving the company into an area of, back to really where I started really, which would be, the next, tech-driven, the next growth area, but also taking the skill sets of what we are as a company and making sure I'm putting the company in the right place for success. And that's a big reason why we got into the tourism-based part of the marketing business of the call center, tying in call center skill sets to tourism marketing, was that I saw a sales force, or I saw a skill set in my labor force that was comfortable. It was in their comfort zone to talk about tourism. So why not have a call center that's marketing tourism? Because now you get the best of both worlds for me as an owner to drive more business. So the tourism aspect, loyalty rewards, back office, database management, you're going to see a lot of that coming out of ADS. Social media management, business-to-business social media management, not what's going on Facebook and people having parties and posting photos. Taking people's profiles, market research, and saying, okay, you're trying to reach this particular type of person. I'm going to pull that data from the social media arena, like companies like LinkedIn and things like, and give you targeted customers. I think the biggest misconception that people have is that I'm this, big businessman from the United States that's very well off.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
I think the biggest misconception that people have is that I'm this, big businessman from the United States that's very well off. I can tell you right now that I work very hard for what we continue to achieve, and I have really changed my entire life to really make it. My life is in Jamaica, and for the people that know me, they know that. Really, it's Jamaica first now, and the rest of the world second. And if you don't know me, people look at this guy who's the president of the American Chamber of Commerce, representing a lot of foreign investment. With the chamber itself has the word American in it, and having events with the embassy, and there's this aspect that they try to group you as an outsider or an expat, things like that. And I consider myself a person living and building a life and business in Jamaica, trying to make a difference. And I don't like titles, or I don't like preconceived notions about people. I mean, and I think anyone that's ever heard me speak knows it comes from the heart. Yes, I want to be successful on all levels of success, but I define success, I think, now more than ever, on what I'm able to do to build a better life for myself and the people I care about, where I'm at. I always say a house is not a home. So that building I'm in, or that apartment I'm in, that's not my home. That's just a structure. A home is where you feel comfortable and you feel you have people around you that care about you and you care about. And I think that a lot of foreign businessmen that come down here get titled or pre-titled with certain stigmas that I don't think is fair. Now, a lot of them just go back and forth and never made a life here, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a big group of us that made a life here. And we didn't do that because we inherited any money. We didn't do that because the government gave us any money. We did it out of pure hard work and saw an opportunity to make our lives better by being here. Well, I don't sleep, so I need to get up. If not, my mind just, goes on and on and on and on. I'm like a big computer server. The minute I lay down, it starts downloading everything from the day. Once it's downloaded, I'm already ready to turn it back on. And so I'm not a workaholic because I work hard to play hard. Anybody that's been around me knows that I like to have a good time, and I like to have a lot of people around me having a good time. I like to laugh at myself and be goofy, and dressing up as Santa Claus and acting like a goofball at a Christmas party in front of the business community. I enjoy that. My philanthropy work here started out very basic. We had a couple of the managers that worked for me at ADS Global said there was a career day, and they wanted to invite me to speak at their children's school. So I went up to the school, first time I'd ever been to a school here in Jamaica, and I fell in love with the kids. And I started thinking more and more about if I can make a difference in Jamaica, I need to make it with the children and the future of Jamaica. So the next thing, I started going around talking to the schools about GSATs the week before GSATs, just to give the children a perspective of like, listen, don't get yourself all worked up. This is an opportunity, but you do your best and everything will work out. And there's life beyond next Tuesday when you take this test. And then that tied into falling in love with a certain school in Montego Bay called Supreme Prep, and spending time with them and helping them build a new room or put a new roof. And I sponsored an annual scholarship fund there in the name of Nelia Perrier, who's been a school teacher for over 50 years now in Jamaica. And then it went on to much bigger things. Now into AmJam, we formed our Committee for Community Affairs and Relations, and we're going to pick one charitable organization a year to help build and drive and support. And this year we're going to be doing Shelly Ann Frazier's organization, the Pocket Rocket Foundation, for her. I liked finding different levels of happiness. It's not anymore about how much I'm worth or how big the company is. It's more about happiness. And I think I've narrowed how I define happiness to myself much less. It isn't such a big, broad-based concept as it was 20 years ago. If I get up and I enjoy the day, and I go to bed that night, and I enjoyed that day and what I did, and I enjoyed the people I had around me, that to me is happiness. And what drives me is to be able to have more days like that, and then turn days into weeks, weeks into months, months into years. Because it's not an easy thing to do. We deal with all the intangibles in life and challenges, and then we get away from the basics, which is, hey, listen, it doesn't matter how many employees you have, it doesn't matter how big the company, what you're worth, whatever. At the end of the day, you just want to get up and go to bed and enjoy life. And that's how I would say, that's what drives me. I would like to enjoy life even more.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange wishes to help to develop the social sector. To that end, they have formed the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange, which is a safe, efficient, and transparent platform that aims to promote social projects that build Jamaica and will inure to the benefit of all persons living in the country.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange is a company that encourages and mobilizes capital for the main market, and that is the market that is not the social sector. Now, the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange is really geared towards the social sector to help to solve social problems in the field of health, education, about children, environment. Those are some of the things that we consider social problems. And so it is to mobilize the capital, allow persons who have a desire to invest in a social good, to invest in the social stock exchange. It is designed in two parts. In phase one, where we look at social investment, and phase two, where we look at social impact investment. Now, in phase one, really what we are saying is it is donation. An organization will have a social issue and design it into a project or a program and invite Jamaicans or persons within the diaspora or the entire world to fund this program. Now, in phase two, you're going to get a return on investment, which is not social. You will be getting shares, natural shares, as you would get if you invested in the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And what you'll get is a return on capital, which is possibly dividend or an appreciation in that share. The Jamaica Social Stock Exchange does more than ask for the funding of these programs, but goes beyond that in terms of monitoring, ensuring that these programs are meeting the targets and the reason for them to have asked for funding in the first place. When we look at this new sector, it is important because holistically, if you do not look on the social sector, you do not improve the other sectors. We want to encourage all businesses in Jamaica to have a corporate social responsibility because it is good for encouraging and the growth and development of businesses.
The Jamaica Red Cross is a voluntary relief movement not prompted in any manner by desire for gain. They operate with a need to help. Caring Hands met with Dr. Dennis Edwards, president of the Jamaica Red Cross, at their visit to the community of Seawright Garden.
The Jamaica Red Cross is a humanitarian organization, first and foremost, and it is one of the national societies of the International Federation of the Red Cross and International Federation of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent, actually. And we are an auxiliary to the government of Jamaica since 1964, which means that by way of law, statute of parliament, we are obliged to support the government in anything the government might require us to do with respect to humanitarianism, particularly so in times of disasters. Consistent with the mandate of our international movement, our broad objective is to save lives, reduce human suffering, and preserve the dignity of people under any and all circumstances. As a part of the international movement, we are one of 190 societies around the world, with the society's origin way back 150 years ago out of a military war type event in Solferino, a city in Italy, where our founder, Henry Dunant, actually was very concerned about the wounded on the battlefield. Hence, the International Federation of the Red Cross was formed initially to assist wounded soldiers. And then from that, it propagated all across the world and actually became involved not only in times of war, but in times of peace where people are suffering. We have as our mandate, or maybe I can say our pillars, 7 main pillars. Our first principle being humanity, which is to say that whatever it is that affects humanity, we are concerned about that. Our second principle is impartiality. Okay, so we do not discriminate against anyone. Once a person is in need, person is suffering, we are obliged to assist that person irrespective of their circumstances. We are also having as another of our major principles, which is of neutrality. We do not take sides. Okay, we do not take sides in any instance of conflict or any instance of relief. We just serve whomsoever it is are in need, and we look out for the most needy to actually engage ourselves. Then we also have another principle, which is independence. While we are an auxiliary to the government and we assist and all like that, in our territory here of Jamaica, we actually operate independent of any parties and independent of any religious, independent of any thought of being biased. So we're independent in all of our activities. We're also pretty much as one of another of our pillars, principles, volunteerism. We are a voluntary organization, not driven for reward or any such thing. We are all about helping humanity for the sake of humanity, not for the sake of rewards. And then we also are orienting ourselves towards unity. We seek to have people united as much as possible for the welfare of people, of the suffering peoples, as well as for the welfare of maybe the whole world. Unity is a big pillar of us. And then, of course, universality. In Jamaica, as well as in all nations, there is only one Red Cross. So while we have Red Cross branches around the country, it's just one Red Cross. So it's universal and it's open to all peoples in the country, as is the Red Cross movement, broadly speaking, open to all peoples around the world. And there are 109 societies around the world, originated, like I said, from back about 150 years ago, and there are over 100 million volunteers and members in the movement around the world. Our criteria to become a member is pretty simple, and the major criteria is a passion to serve humanity. But in that regard, though, we want to have people with that passion and consistent with that, people with integrity, people who are not driven by way of personal need, personal aggrandizement. And we therefore recruit from time to time, and people are free to actually approach us for membership. And there is a process, but we do, like when an individual is recommended and we get a chance to actually brief that person as to what the Red Cross is all about, and actually have an inauguration of membership where they can get a chance to understand what are the objectives, the principles of our movement. But our actual membership is pretty simple. You have the capacity to assist, and you are not in it for gain, and you are open to serving humanity. And I might insert that our membership is not confined to just persons who are physically and mentally able to assist. We are also open to persons who might say have disabilities and might want to subscribe and contribute to the development of peoples around them.
Coming up on Caring Hands.
The organization responds to the need that exists, and so our programs are built around that.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters. Call us at 876-618-2870 or email us at sales@batvja.com. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Deputy Director General at the Jamaica Red Cross, Loy Hugh, also oversees the operations of the society.
The organization responds to the need that exists, and so our programs are built around that. So we have evolved from we started as a branch of the British Red Cross in 1948, and at that time the major programs that we had would be feeding programs for people who are hungry, visiting the sick in hospitals, and we have, however, evolved to a society where crime and violence has become, so we have to have a violence prevention program. We have health that is in need, and there are poor health-seeking behaviors among people, and many activities that didn't exist before. And so we have disaster management, risk management we call it. We prevent, if we can, the disaster from occurring. We train individuals and ensure that the communities are equipped to deal with before, so that the impact of the disaster will be less and they can be more resilient and bounce back. So we work with the communities. In particular, we identify communities that are particularly vulnerable and work with them. But we try as far as we can to work with as many communities as resources allow. So that's disaster management. I talked a little bit about the health, but health also refers to HIV prevention, for example. We just had the Zika scare, and so we're involved in Zika prevention, educating and sensitizing people as to how to get rid of the mosquitoes and to develop good habits so that mosquitoes won't breed in their homes and areas where they are frequenting. We look at blood donor. We recognize that while it is not something that people like to do, the country needs it, and transfusions, when people need blood because motor vehicle accidents, they've lost a lot, we need to encourage people to have a bank, to have some, so it's not just at the time that you will need. And so we have a program where we encourage, especially young people, we call it Club 25, in their, so the drives include trying to make sure that before you're 25, try to make a number of donations, and they are rewarded. We give them certificates, etc., for encouraging people to give as well. So young people get a chance to assist others. In fact, the aim is to prevent human suffering overall, and so they're serving one another and they're doing what they can to provide aid and comfort to the sick and suffering, to link together all the children of the world in a chain of friendship. Those are some of the things that they have a mandate to do, and that's how we develop them. We give them skills so that they're able to do that and to make the country a better place. We did a little assessment of a number of communities when we wanted to start helping in various ways, and we discovered that this was a very vulnerable community on different fronts, so they needed assistance in different ways. The community disaster response, they wanted training in that and to be able to work, but they also have some poor health-seeking behaviors, and some lack of some amenities that are critical to healthy living, and we work with them, but we're also working with them to appreciate and understand how to make change about the things that we are giving. So we're not just giving, we want you to learn and to understand why it is that that's important. So our field officer works on a daily basis with the community, working with sometimes with the youth, sometimes with the older ones, identifying persons who need skills, identifying, training them in first aid and other disciplines so that they can utilize it in the community. We again, because violence is an area that needs to be given all the attention we can, we want to reduce violence in the country. We want to in the communities as well, and once it becomes a part of you, then we can begin to see a change. So we were promoting, we're doing training in the community, but we also wanted to provide incentive, and in particular in Salt Spring, in St. James, that community has been identified with many different problems of violence and surrounding areas as well. And so we did the violence prevention training, working with the young people, and then offered a prize to the best essay and also the best poster that they could do. Interestingly enough, the young man who won was actually a victim because his stepfather was killed in violence, by violent means too. And he was touched and he made that claim. You know, he said it, that he wanted to do that because it touched his own life, and so he wanted to see how we could make. And we're glad that we're able to make the difference, but we continue. We keep working, and where we are able to offer incentives, we do. Around the world, there are some days that the Red Cross observe with each other. So anywhere you are in the world, that's happening on that particular day. And so on the second Saturday in September, and we started this recently, I would say perhaps certainly since this century, we have designated that day, the second Saturday, as World First Aid Day. What we're trying to do is to bring attention to the fact that everybody can be first aid trained. Everybody should be aware, because lives are being saved by persons. It's not just the paramedics and the doctors and so on, with all respect, but what is done before they get to that point is usually life-saving. And so we want to call people's attention to the need for everyone to be first aid trained, as many persons as possible.
Coming up on Caring Hands.
The main aim of this project is to build community resilience, and an assessment was conducted that would have unveiled some of the challenges which this community is facing.
Every day you wake up, you have another opportunity to make this little island better, safer, a place where we all can be proud to call home. It's time we all recognize that every little thing we do has an impact on the Jamaica we live in now and the country we're leaving for our children. So promise me this, promise yourself this: no more will we tolerate criminals, even if it's our relatives. Tell them they're doing something wrong. Tell them to stop. Tell them no more robbing our children of the Jamaica they deserve. Tell them no more crime.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life, delighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
Janal Sham is the field coordinator at the Jamaica Red Cross. His job is to coordinate the activities under the Jamaica Red Cross's Resilience in the Americas project. He has been actively engaging the community of Seabright Gardens since 2014.
The main aim of this project is to build community resilience, and an assessment was conducted that would have unveiled some of the challenges which this community is facing. And the RETA project focuses on 4 geo-communities across Jamaica. So in Kingston and St. Andrew, we focus on Mavis Bank and Seavright Gardens. And in St. James, we focus on Salt Spring and Stonehenge. Now for the Seavright Gardens community, we know that when we did the IPA, the Integrated Participatory Assessment, and as well as with the input of some of the community members, we discovered that they were challenged, they had water and sanitation challenges, right? So what the intervention that we employed as a means of mitigating or eliminating this problem was the FAST training, and this is the Participatory Hygiene and Sanitation Transformation, or the WASH, Wash, Water and Sanitation Hygiene. So these are courses, our training that we'll be doing, conducting every month, and we have also done a complete course as well with the mother, the parents and everybody, but then we'll also be rolling out where we teach persons proper hygiene, water and sanitation practices so that we can eliminate the issue of transferring of germs and water, vector-borne disease and stuff like that, so we can tackle the hygiene and sanitation issues that we have been having in Seavright Gardens. As well, we would have also done some work on the communal bathrooms because some of them were in a deplorable condition, so we would have gone in and would have installed new toilets, showers, we would have also done some painting and just general refurbishing, changing out of the doors, painting the bathrooms and giving them a facelift. Yes, so that is how we would have tackled that problem. And then we've also, in addition to the FAST, we also did the CDRT training where we just display the CDRT team. But then again, we also did some scholarships because one of the things that we discovered in the IPA, the assessment, was that there are children who are leaving school and they are just hanging out, loitering on the street, not having anything to do in the daytime. So we provided grants for persons so that they could further enhance their capacity in terms of skills training. So recently we just had 7 persons who received vocational and skills training grants to attend the St. Pius Training Center coming September. Yes, and in addition to this now, the projects have lifespans, right? And after the RETA project has ended, we'd want continuation of the interventions that we came in and did. So what we did was that we installed a community-based organization. The CDRT team is the core of that, right? So what this community-based organization will do now is that they will take on the interventions. They are the ones who will take over on the interventions that the RETA project came in with, right? So they are the ones who are now going to ensure that the communal bathrooms are up. These persons are also training FAST as well, so they can go around and conduct FAST sessions. So they are basically going to be filling the booths that we would have left on. So we gave them a start and they are going to be continuing on what we started. And the CDC, the Seavright Garden CDC, the Community Development Committee, they are going to be the parent company that oversees this organization to ensure that the organization stays together. So they will have monthly meetings. So after the RETA project has ended, these initiatives would be in safe hands as it relates to continuation and development. And these persons would have received training in meeting management, leadership skills, proposal writing. So if there are any issues in the community and they have a project that they want to take on, the SDC, which is one of our partners, the Social Development Commission, would have come in and done some capacity building as a means of empowering these individuals so that they can be able to manage the affairs of their community effectively and to build their community resilience and to take over and just to operate as an organization within themselves and to take care of the community and uplift the community, and in doing so empowering themselves. That was a demonstration on the CDRT team. That was one of the interventions that the RETA project, the Resilience in the Americas project, has carried out in Seavright Gardens. As you know, resilience is about being able to bounce back after natural disasters. So the main aim of this project is to build community resilience. So that is one of the aspects now. An IPA would have been conducted within the community. That is an integrated participatory assessment. And from this IPA, we would have uncovered some challenges that the community is facing. And one of the interventions that we undertook was to install a CDRT team in the community, just in the event of a natural disaster, that these members are able to act as first responders. So these persons are trained in first aid, light search and rescue operation, and the like. So in the event of a natural disaster, they are the ones who would respond first, because whenever you have a natural disaster, roads are deemed impassable and the other external emergency services, may not gain immediate access to the community. So it is very wise that you have educated individuals in the community who can act in emergency cases and to cater for the community members until outside helps arise. So what we saw there was a display of the CDRT team members. They a fainting scenario where somebody faints and they put them in a recovery position. Yes, and as I said before, they are trained in light search and rescue operation, cardio, CPR, cardio, pulmonary resuscitation and the like. So these persons can act in the case of an emergency. And one of the successes that we have of this training was that these persons are certified first aiders. So outside of a disaster happening in the community, in the day-to-day running of the community, somebody may get in an emergency situation and yes, choking and as irregular fires, burnouts, and these persons are trained to respond in these scenarios. So this is in the essence, the true essence of building community resilience, because we have persons in the community who are trained in first aid who can cater for the community and act in emergency cases until outside help arrives. In the event of an emergency, someone gets a cut or there are burns and somebody needs emergency assistance, that kit is equipped with the necessities that can take care of that person in any emergency situation. Yeah, so that is basically the first aid kit, what it contains. Yes, and these persons are also equipped with CPR masks, so in the case that they have to do any cardiopulmonary resuscitation, they can put it over the person's head and do what they have to do. The persons get flashlights, they get a chainsaw, whenever, because in a disaster situation, you know, there may be trees or debris blocking the road, so this person can use the chainsaw to remove debris. They have the shovels, the machetes, the pickaxe that they can use to conduct their operation in the event of an emergency. These persons have gotten gloves, protective goggles, they got a bullhorn, hard hats, they are equipped with vests. So in addition to getting a main kit, they also have individual kits as well that they can respond effectively in case of emergencies. Normally, some of the mistakes are associated with the faints. They say you should get a shoe and put over their mouth, you should slap the person, make the person smell salt, but they are proper procedures. Those are just myths. And if you go there, somebody faints and you go and you slap the person, you may cause additional damage. So this was just basically the person checking for breathing. Somebody faints, there are correct procedures in which you have to follow. So you go there, you check for breathing, you tilt, you hold the chin and you tilt the head back to open the airway so that the person can breathe effectively. You go there now, so you check for breathing, you check if the person is responding. So once the person is breathing and there's a pulse, you know that the person has just fainted. So you'll just put the person in a recovery position until the person is fully revived. But if there's no breathing and the person is unconscious, then you'll perform CPR on that person until emergency services arrives. So you do CPR until you get an ambulance.
I wanted to be an educator because I believe that education is the most powerful weapon that can change the world.
My dreams and aspiration is to one day become an entrepreneur where I can employ other persons and help to build the country.
I wanted to go into development. I wanted to help people become better versions of themselves. Growing up, I saw a lot of violence, I saw a lot of crime, I saw a lot of poverty. The challenges are so many. The first one that comes to mind is the level of youth unemployment that's here.
Challenges that exist here in West Prospect Bogwalk are lack of awareness for educational opportunities or job opportunities.
Not many got the chance to do CXC or graduate from the secondary level. So that's a major setback for the people living in the community.
A way to alleviate this issue is training programs.
They need more opportunities, like to go back to school to get themselves a certificate so they can be able to to work and create employment for themselves and their family.
Push more entrepreneurship opportunity, encourage these youths to be creative and innovative in what they do. Give them startup capital to start their business. Invest more in the youth skills and talents.
The poverty reduction program is funded by the European Union, and it really is a program that focuses on the most vulnerable type of communities, making communities safer, making citizens more healthy, better access to education.
For European Union, investing in youth is an obvious choice. They are the future of the country. If we prepare them well, they will bring the change that Jamaica needs. That's why we invest in scholarships, internship, training in life skills and mentorship.
I received a tertiary scholarship from PRP to attend the University of Technology, Jamaica. It meant a lot to me because I realized that somebody else believed in me and somebody saw the potential that I have and somebody believed that I could actually achieve my goal.
I benefited by getting firstly an internship, and also they assisted my bachelor's degree financially. But critically, outside of the finances, the persons that were on the project, you know, the motivation that they provided, etc., it really provided a huge boost.
This is my third year at the MICO. This scholarship, it helped me to be able to focus only on my education here, because tertiary education is not cheap.
I was placed at ODPEM on the one-year internship program. It was really good. It was an opportunity for me to prove myself, to give myself of service, and also to gain experience in the working world, and to also provide for my family.
I plan to be an agent of change in my community by being a mentor, a leader, and a godfather for the youths growing up. Try to help them, teach them a trade.
You don't have to be rich to help. You don't have to achieve greatness to start. I contributed to my basic school by providing them with the necessary resources that they need, that I believe that in the long run, it will have a ripple effect on many, many persons.
Professionally, I manage the whole program, which is aimed at giving young persons the opportunity to, you know, do what I did, basically, to get their foot inside an organization. Additionally, I also have a little small business that I try to employ young persons to learn a skill, etc.
When you're persistent in life, when you're determined, when you're hungry for success, then you'll be able to accomplish and achieve anything that you want.
It has changed hundreds and hundreds of lives. Not just my life, my family lives, my friends' lives, etc. I want to just urge everyone looking on to continue these social programs. These are the solutions to the many ills that we face as a society and as a country and even as a world. So thank you, and I challenge you, continue it. It's needed.